Good evening everyone and welcome to round 6 of the Flux Motorsport LMP2 Championship. We're stateside for the first time so far in this championship at the Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas, and it looks like it's going to be another interesting from the chaos that was round 5 last week in Bathurst. This is of course a relatively new circuit with some obviously very modern features and corners kind of stolen off other classic circuits. Corners of notice include Sector 1, which is based off the Maggots and Beckett series corners at Silverstone, and the long sweeping right-hander in Sector 3 is reminiscent of the famous Turn 8 at Istanbul Park in Turkey. Last time we were out at Bathurst, and what a race that was. We had back-to-back action, whether it was mistakes from some of our less consistent drivers or intense strategy decisions. Some were of course more successful than others, and if you watched that race last week you know exactly what I'm talking about. However, if you didn't manage to catch that race, we are putting up short bite-sized highlight videos for every single race in all our championships this season, so feel free to check them out. It's worth mentioning that we have a slightly smaller grid this time round. We're currently missing Tibby as he is retired because he's unable to make the rest of the races this season. Lecky isn't able to join us tonight due to network problems, and Taijo will be missing from our grid as well, which is a real shame, and we hope to see all three of those drivers back racing as soon as they can. Just got seen in the chat here we have Kakashi Hatake. I hope I've pronounced that right. Sorry if I haven't. Saying come on Johnny, so of course they must have their favourite already, and I'll just say hello back as well. Thank you for joining us tonight, and we hope you enjoy the racing. Some spare time here in our qualifying session. Let's take a look through our standings after round 5 in Bathurst. Currently top in the standings sheet we have eMotorsports UK with 130 points. He's done really well this season as well. He's had pole position and fastest lap in every single race that we've been at so far. And he's had a podium in almost all of them. He ended his podium streak last week in Bathurst after a few mistakes. In second place in the standings we find Bruce Law. He's currently got 127 points, which is only 3 off of eMotorsports, so really tight to the top there between those two. Expect to see some close racing. They're both big names to watch out for. Third in the standings we've got McToasty on 97 points. Fourth in the standings is Dirk Diggler with 86. Fifth in the standings is Chris M Sport with 72 points. Sixth in the standings is Taijo, who won't be joining us tonight, so he'll be missing out on some crucial points. Right behind Taijo you'll find DCFC fan, who has received a qualifying ban for this race, so he'll be starting from the back of the grid due to an incident that happened last time out. In 8th place we have Lecky 2000 on 40 points. Then in 9th is Green Gaming. Then only 3 points behind Green Gaming in 10th we find Spankmeyer. In 11th is Porscheman 962. 12th is Tibby, who has retired, so none of his points will be counted from here on out. Mark's in 14th. Johnny is in 15th on 16 points, and that rounds off our grid. Let's take a quick look through our timings at the moment. You'll see we currently have eMotorsports taking the provisional pole position, almost 2 seconds ahead of Chris Emsport in second. Of course, we're still quite early on in the qualifying session, so these could change. Giona, aka Johnny, is in third at the moment. He's doing really well. We should expect to see some good things from him today. And taking a look in the chat, we've got a big fan of him, to say the least. Then we have, in fourth place, we find Bruce Law for 153.7. Then it's McToasty, Dirk Diggler and Spankmeyer following on. And then Mark Green Gaming can't quite get under 1 minute yet, but they've still got plenty of time to do so. And then, of course, DCFC Fan hasn't set a time yet. And CMC and Porsche also haven't set a time. Let's have a look, see what Immortalis is up to at the moment. We're getting quite used to seeing him in that first place position in qualifying. He seems to have really nailed the setup of this car to try and get it go around as quick as possible, although of course he isn't always the most consistent, which is reflective in his results from some of the races. As Immortalis there just heads into the pits. Since we have such a big Giona fan, let's hop on board with him for a little while. Let's see how he's doing. Currently sat third, which is a really good position for him to be in at the moment. In a track like this though, there can be lots of overtaking done. A lot of heavy braking zones, especially into turn 1 at the top of the hill. So we should expect to see quite a lot of overtaking today in the race. Let's complete a lap here with Giona as he heads into this really weird turn 1. It kind of comes back on you a bit, that corner, and then we head into the sweeping right hand of turn 2 and into the tight chicane twisty section of turns 3, 4 and 5. So quick up and down the hill through turns 7 and 8, and then a little turn 9 here. You're going to try and want to get nice and wide through there, and then we head down into the hairpin of turn 11 before we head onto the long back straight. You want to brake nice and early here. If you brake too late, you'll just go straight off the track. It's quite a narrow part of the track here, which is why there's so much runoff. And it's turn 12 there. Into turn 13, a bit of some weird corners here. Quite a few kind of double apex corners, especially this one here, turn 15. This is really tricky and hard to get right for lots of our drivers. And then we come into the iconic sweeping right-hander here. 4 different apexes for the drivers to hit there, reminiscent of turn 8 at Istanbul, which is of course an iconic corner on an iconic track. And coming to the last corner here, corner number 20, and we head down the start finish straight, and that completes a lap of the Circuit of the Americas. Meanwhile, Immortalis seems to be back out on track. Well, it looks like there's a big crack in his windscreen there. So he must have picked up some damage. I'm not sure how he's done that. Doesn't look to be too major though. Possibly just cosmetic. But he'll maybe want to get that repaired. Meanwhile, CMCF1 still hasn't set a time yet. He's currently just sat in the pits still. If I flick onto my timing sheet, I might be able to see if he's done any laps. He has. He's done 2 laps already, but he must have got a lap time invalidation penalty a couple of times there, which has prevented him from setting a timed lap. We just saw him with Immortalis in the background there. He seemed to slow down a little bit. I'm not too sure why that was, possibly. I didn't quite catch that. but he's still got a commanding lead in this qualifying session. I think so far, definitely the shock driver so far has got to be Giona, sat at the moment in 3rd place, which is really good for him. I've got to say, he's definitely shown that he's got a lot of pace in these cars. He hasn't had the strongest season so far. I've got to say, he had a 14th place finish in Zhuhai, a DNF in COTA, and a 9th place finish in Bathurst last time out. So things haven't always gone to plan here for Giona, but he seems to be doing really well so far. It's worth noting as well that since Lecky_2000 won't be joining us tonight, as we see Giona there just cut me off a bit with his spin. As soon as I was saying how well he was doing in his qualifying session, he's just gone and spun right in front of me. Anyway, I was saying Lecky 2000 won't be joining us tonight, which will mean that every single car taking place will be a Ligier Nissan, which will kind of, well, I mean, it won't change it too drastically, since there was only one other car, which of course was Lecky's, which was the Marek. But it will create a more even playing field for all of our drivers here today. The Marek is usually considered to be slower than the Ligier anyway, so like I say, it won't be too drastic of a change, but it could possibly spice up the racing a little bit, as it's essentially now a single car race. As the clock there has just ticked past and under 6 minutes to go, I'll take a quick look over our current qualifying positions of every driver. On our provisional pole position at the moment, we'll find Immortalis with a stellar 151.2. No other driver yet has even gotten into the 152s, let alone the 151s. As he pulls out the pits there. Then in 2nd place we have Chris M Sport for 153.074. In 3rd place we have Giona. His big fan in the chat would surely be happy about that. In 4th we've got Bruce Law, which is slightly uncharacteristic of him. I have to say, he's usually a bit further up the grid, although he's never really been a qualifying man. He likes to set up his car quite nicely for the race and just try and keep it clean. In 5th at the moment we find McToasty with a 154, the first of the drivers who's not got into the 153s yet. In 6th we have Dirk Diggler there with the really nice orange and black livery number 11 car. In 7th, Porsche, I'm not sure what the cameraman's doing there, but yeah, in 7th we've got Porsche with a 155.092. Spankmeyer at the moment in 8th, with a 157.056. Then it's Mark in 9th, who's currently in the pits. Green Gaming in 10th, and CMC F1 in 12th, and of course DCFC Fan hasn't set a time because he won't be doing so due to his qualifying ban. Let's take a quick look at CMC F1 here. Got a really nice view there. Looks like he's just headed into that final sector of the track at the end of that back straight. But it seems like in the chat they really want me to have a look at Johnny, but he unfortunately he's just gone into the pits, so there's not much to see here. But we'll keep an eye on him for now. But we'll stay on board with CMCF1 for the moment. CMC there just goes through the penultimate corner, and we'll round turn 20 here, final corner of the track. Let's see if he can set a timed lap. And he has, but it's a very slow lap indeed, a 2:21. It looks like that was must have been a banker lap for him of sorts, just to get a time in. But it certainly wasn't a quick one, so either something might have gone wrong there. He could have spun or something, but perhaps it was just him setting his first time of the day. Let's take another look over onto Giona. He's been moved down to 4th place there, as Bruce Law has gotten into the top 3 of a 1:53.2. There's only about a 1/10 difference though between Bruce Law and Giona, so Giona here, if he can set just a slightly faster time, he can find his way up into the top 3 for the first time this season. And it seems like there's 2 massive fans of Giona in the chat now, so he's definitely a popular boy. And the clock there is just about to hit 1 minute to go, so we're heading into the final stages of this qualifying session. And it's worth mentioning that this will be Giona's last lap, I believe, of qualifying, because the checkered flag will come out before he can reach the finish line. So whatever time he can put in here will be his final time of the session. And let's have a look, see where Bruce Law is on track. I don't know what the cameraman's doing there again. Half asleep there. And it seems like Bruce Law is just in front of Giona here, so they're both going to cross the line at about the same time. So this is going to be really tight. And it seems like in the time I was speaking earlier, Bruce Law set a slightly faster time to increase the gap between him and Giona to around about 0.3 of a second. And there's the checkered flag out for qualifying. It seems like CMCF1 couldn't get below the 2-minute times with his 2:01.42 that he set. Giona there looked like he went a little bit wide, although it could have been lag. And Bruce Law will cross the line. And it'll be a big improvement there. And it'll be an improvement for Giona as well, as Chris M Sport gets moved down to 4th place. Bruce Law sets a 1:52.1 to put himself up to 2nd, and Giona also gets into the 1:52, so a 1:52.495, which puts him 3rd on the grid. A spectacular finish in qualifying for Giona there. Let's take a quick look at Immortalis here. Looks like he's still got a bit of time left to set a lap. That will be he might possibly get below the 1:51s, but it will need to be a spectacular lap time to do so. Just shows how fast the man is on pace alone. The fact that he can get pretty much 0.8 quicker than the man, the F1 legend, Bruce Law himself. Let's see here if eMotorsports can set a quicker lap time, possibly get into the 150s. As he crosses the line now, it looks like it was no improvement from him. And here we go, we have the official qualifying results here at round 6 of the Flux Motorsport LMP2 Championship at Circuit of the Americas. In pole position, we find Mortalis UK continuing his streak of pole positions. That'll be every single round so far he's had pole position. In second place, we find Bruce Law with a 152.102. In third place is Giona, a really good qualifying session from him, which should set him up nicely for the race. In fourth is Chris M Sport. Fifth, McToasty. In sixth is Dirk Diggler. Seventh is Porscheman. Eighth is Spankmeyer. Ninth is Mark. Green Gaming is in 10th. CMCF1 in 11th. DCFC fans setting no time there due to his qualifying ban in 12th, and that will round out our grid for today. And there's 2 minutes of tinker time here for our drivers. This will allow them some time to refine their setups for the race and lock in their pit strategies. In terms of predictions for the race today, I think I'm going to predict a Bruce Law win, I've got to say. As fast as Immortalis is, he's shown to be a bit inconsistent when it comes to the race itself, and Bruce Law is always consistent at any track he goes to. He's very akin to a robot. So yeah, I think my money's on him. He's starting high up the grid in second place, which just shows he's got pace on top of his consistency that he's always got. So I'm going to expect a strong finish from him. It's worth noting as well that Giona will have the inside line into turn 1, which should set him up quite nicely. I'm not sure if he'll be able to overtake Bruce Law, but we might see some clashing between the two at the start of this race. Another quick thing to note as well, as the clock has about 15 seconds left, is that we haven't seen DCFC's pace yet, so it'll be interesting to see if of course, how fast he is. And as the race syncs up here, and the lights come on, and it's lights out and away we go here. Immortalis seems to get a bit of a bad start as Giona tries to go up the inside. He's squeezing Immortalis has, and Giona looks like he's going to have the inside line, but Immortalis just forcing him to brake there. And it looks like Giona here is going to go down the inside of Bruce Law, and he takes second place. A really nice move from him there. Oh dear! As he loses the rear end, a bit of commentator's curse there. And he's fallen down to the back of the grid. That's a real shame from him. Looks like DCSC fans had a good start as well. He's already up into 9th, all the way from the back of the grid. Looks like Green Gaming here is going to try and go down the inside of Chris M Sport, but again the cameraman just no idea what he's doing now. We couldn't catch the action, unfortunately. And looks like Porscheman as well is going to try and go down the inside of Chris here. And looks like he's made that work. He might try and go for a dive bomb on the inside of Green Gaming. It looks like he's going to try it, but oh dear, as he just gets a little tap in the back there from Chris. And it puts him down into 7th place. A whole lot of action going on here. As it looks like Spankmeyer there, looks like he's setting himself up for an overtake on DCFC fan. He's going to go down the inside here. But he just can't make it stick, and DCFC fan retains the place. And who's that going wide there? Looks like that was CMC going very wide. And Jonas already made up a place. Looks like he's got the slipstream of Mark. He's going to go up the inside into turn 1. Or hop on board with him. Although I think he might have some aero damage there, because that car did seem a bit slow in the straight line, even with the draft. But he's still got the position. And it was a nice clean overtake from him there. Looks like Bruce Law is still on the back of Immortalis. We're getting used to seeing these two battling for the lead now. These two drivers have got an exceptional amount of talent indeed. So you see, just saw my timing sheets there. It seems like that camera is broken, but Dirk Diggler's made his way past Chris. And he's already pulling out a lead. Jonas made his way all the way up into 8th. So, a great recovery so far from him. I see in the background there, looked like Mark was setting himself up for a move on Green Gaming. But he was just a bit too far back. Really close action here down the back of the grid. Expect to see this continuing throughout the whole race. And it looks like Chris is setting himself up for a move on Dirk Diggler. But again, just too far back. He's weaving all around the place there. Really nice move. Moved to the outside, then ducked to the inside, but it looks like Dirk Diggler's got the cutback, and this is some really close racing between these two, and some fantastic moves being made. As Chris there, he's gone round the outside, goes a bit wide on the exit, but he's going to have the inside into the next corner here, as Dirk Diggler just shuts the door on him. And now Porsche seems to be getting into the action as well from the back there. This is so close in for this battle for 4th place. Make sure to keep an eye on that here, but as I just flick to the front of the grid here, Bruce Law has closed that gap up even more to Immortalis now to about half a second. So we'll make sure to keep an eye on those two. But this is where the action's at the moment in the mid-pack. The battle for 5th place. And it looks like Giona's made his way up there into 6th. So it looks like possibly a double overtake of Spankmeyer and Chris from Giona. Giona's really on the move here. He's going to duck to the inside into this heavy braking zone. And he's going to comfortably have that 5th place. This is some fantastic racing so far that we've seen. And flicking down as well, looks like we've got a battle for 9th place going on here between 4 cars. And who's that? That's Chris M Sport spinning off into the grass. And he's been sent all the way down to last place. And Dirk Diggler has slipped back to 8th. DCSC fan all the way up into 6th. And Giona up into 5th. So both those drivers having some amazing recoveries here. Looks like CMCF1 possibly setting himself up for a move on Mark. Oh dear, commentator's curse there, slamming into the barrier. He might have suspension damage on that car, and he's going to have to drive an entire lap to make it all the way back to the pits. And Dirk Diggler's coming to the pits here, so it looked like he must have hit the wall, which sent him down quite a few places. And Jonas already pulled away from DCFC. He's really on the charge, looking to make up the time that he lost on that spin on lap 1. Flicking down here, there's still a battle for 8th place going on between Green Gaming, Mark and Chris. It's getting hard to keep track of all this position changes so far that we've had. We've had a really action-packed race here. You could argue even more action-packed than last week in Bathurst. And Bruce Law is still keeping the gap to Immortalis nice and small. Let's hop on board for him for a quick few minutes. Just see that some slightly different exits from the two drivers. Bruce Law opting to go a little bit deeper, not as wide on the exit, which seems to be the slower line since the Immortalis has pulled out a bit. Just see that, get as close to the apex as you can. Obviously, don't want to go too close because of the small sausage curve that is right on the apex there. If you hit that, especially in these cars, it will throw you completely off balance. So it looks like Immortalis seems to be pulling away from Bruce Law there. Let's flick on down to Green Gaming, hop on board with him for a bit. You can just see that it looks like up the grid a bit. Spankmeyer has pulled out quite a large gap on Chris, Green Gaming and Mark. And Bruce Law is still falling away from Immortalis. If you take a look at the gaps on the timing sheet there on the left hand side of your screen. And incredibly sorry, but I think I might have missed Giona overtaking Porscheman. I'm very sorry that I did. I know that he's got some big fans in the chat. Sorry I missed that, but Giona here really got lots of pace. He fell right down to the back of the grid on lap 1 after that spin. And he's already made his way up into 4th. And Muck Toasty isn't too far down the road. Let's take a quick flick onto the timings here. Have a look at some of the best lap times so far. And it looks like Jonah's got the fastest lap of the race so far, about 154.5. So he's definitely the fastest car out there on track at the moment. He's really must really have done a lot of practice around this track and really got his setup nailed in. Seems like Spankmeyer, DCFC fan, and Chris as well, slightly further down the road, are duking it out for 6th place here. Definitely a small gap between these three. Spankmeyer going to be looking to try and get past DCFC, but it's clear DCFC has got quite a lot of pace since he qualified right at the back of the grid. In fact, didn't set time at all. And for him to already be up into 6th place is quite an achievement. So it just shows he has actually got quite a lot of pace in these LMP2 cars. But whilst I've got a little bit of spare time here, and a bit of time to catch my breath after all the action of the first 5-10 minutes of this race, it's worth mentioning as well that if you're watching this on YouTube and haven't already subscribed to Flux Motorsport, I'd highly recommend doing so. We have, I believe, 7 series running at the moment, both in Europe and in America. So if you fancy joining us as a driver, all you need is a copy of Project Cars 2 and a PlayStation Plus subscription in order to play online, and you'll be able to go to our website, which I believe is currently offline but should be back up shortly, which is www.fluxmotorsport.com, and you'll find a link to our Discord there. But I believe, yes, it's offline currently, down for some maintenance, as we try and provide the best experience we can to all of our customers out there. And it looks like Chris here is going to be going down the inside of Spankmar and moving himself up into 7th place. But oh, a little bit of contact there, and Chris forced out wide onto the grass. Looked like Spankmar just came into the side of him a little bit there and just hit him off. And it looks like Bruce Law has closed that gap a bit. It was about 1.5 seconds a few laps ago, now down to 0.8 of a second. But if you, of course, don't watch much YouTube or anything like that, and you don't want to join us as a driver, you can of course follow our social medias at Flux Motorsport. We're currently on Instagram, Twitter and Facebook, and you'll find on there our new feature of Overtake of the Race, which provides the best overtake from every race in every single series of these championships. The videos are usually about 10 to 30 seconds long, so really quick watching, and always entertaining to see the talents on show here at Flux Motorsport. And of course, if you have any skill in other areas other than driving, such as accounting, video editing, or even graphic design, we always need new volunteers. So if you are interested in any of that, by all means join our Discord and speak to some of the staff, and we can help you out as much as we can. And it looks like Jonas really caught up to McToasty here. That gap that was about 4 or 5 seconds a few laps ago is now down to a few tenths. Jonas had a spectacular drive here. Absolutely amazing. As he goes round the outside of McToasty to take 3rd position. What a move. That was a really truly amazing move from Jonah there to get himself up into the top 3. And he'll be looking to close the gap between him and Bruce Law next. As we flick on down a little bit here, looks like Chris is weaving all over the place there. Potentially some suspension damage, hitting all the cones and just completely losing control there. Looks like probably some suspension damage. That's definitely a big hit. That's not going to help him at all. That's going to be quite a lengthy pit stop, I presume. God, he just can't keep it in a straight line. Bruce Law still hanging on to the back of Immortalis. A really interesting battle between these two, obviously for the lead. Let's take another very quick look at the timing sheets here, while keeping an eye on these two in the background. you'll be able to see that Jonah still has the fastest lap time. I believe he's improved on it a tiny little bit as well. He's now set at 1:54.527, which is a spectacular lap time. And although his last lap time of a 1:55.18 was slower than Bruce Law's 1:54.892, although that is probably down to him having to overtake McToasty. And it seems that not only has Chris Emsport gone into the pits, but Spankmeyer's headed into the pits as well. And that looks like it was definitely just for damage. So those two drivers must have had some big hits indeed. They might have had it coming together, but I can't say for certain as it wasn't caught on camera. Back on board with Jonah here. As we see Spankmeyer there just getting out of the way as Jonah laps him. And Chris Emsport is still in the pits. He's only just gotten out of his pit box there, it looks like. So it must have been a really long pit stop from him. Some very heavy damage indeed. Which explains why he was swerving all over the place, not being able to keep the car in a straight line. If we take a quick look at the track map here, you'll be able to see that the cars highlighted in blue are cars that have been lapped by our leader here of Immortalis, which just goes to show that quite a few of these cars have had some collisions of some sort. Although, taking a further look at that, I'm not too sure how true that is about the lapped cars. It might be a little bit buggy there, because that doesn't look right to me somehow. Let's take an on-board view inside the cockpit of Immortalis here, as we'll take a look at his speedo as well, just so you get an idea of how fast these cars are and how good the aerodynamics are on these LMP2 cars. These are of course prototype machines built for endurance events across the world. Obviously very expensive and highly precise cars. As he heads up into 6th gear here, just getting right on the rev limit, touching 170 miles an hour before slamming onto the brakes into 1st. Ooh, getting a little bit squiggly on the exits there. Taking a nice and wide approach into that corner. Then you head into, of course, turn 16, 17 and 18. The quadruple apexed right-hander, which is very tricky, and looks like Bruce Law still just behind him, just about half a second back there. It seems to be a back and forth with Bruce Law in terms of the gap. On some laps he'll close it right down to a few tenths, and on other laps he seems to back off a little bit, and a gap will open up. I'm not too sure if that's due to fuel saving. I'm not sure if the fuel tank on these LMP2s will last the whole race distance going flat out around this track. They certainly didn't last time out in Bathurst. A lot of the drivers there had to fuel save or pit for fuel. And CMC F1 seems to have come into the pits again here. So he's picked up even more damage there. So yeah, definitely just damage repair for him. So he's not having the best of days. Let's hop on board with Giona and take a quick look at the timings again. Looks like Giona seems to have slowed down a little bit, which I'm sure his fans in the chat won't like to hear. He seems to be lapping faster than Immortalis, but still slower than Bruce Law. So I think Giona just needs to calm down a little bit here. Obviously his tyres are going to start wearing out soon, but he needs to gather his thoughts a little bit and focus on setting as fast a times as he can on these tyres that are starting to wear out. Toasty still isn't too far back as well. You can just see here as Giona heads into turn 1, Toasty is just crossing the start finish line. So he's not too far back, but Giona's definitely pulled away from him to say the least. And it looks like it probably might have been a little bit of a mistake there from Bruce Law. Looks like he's lost a lot of time there. Up to about 4 seconds now the gap is. Now that sets up Giona perfectly to try and overtake Bruce Law in the next few laps. But I'm not too sure what's happened there. We very rarely see mistakes from the iconic Bruce Law. Yeah, it's definitely an interesting one there. We might see a stewards inquiry, possibly if there was a collision between him and Immortalis. But obviously, I'm not jumping to conclusions or whatsoever. So the clock makes its way past 20 minutes remaining now. Let's take a quick look through the standings of the race so far, not the overall standings side. Obviously, in first place at the moment, we find Immortalis in that really nice Fanatec red and black livery. In second place, we've got Bruce Law in the number 44 Thrustmaster livery. Third, of course, is Giona, teammates with Chris M Sport, who's quite far down the grid at the moment in 11th. McToasty is in 4th, Porscheman in 5th, DCFC in 6th, Green Gaming in 7th, Mark in 8th, Dirk Diggler 9th, Spankmeyer 10th, Chris M Sport in 11th, and at the back of the grid we find CMC F1. So there doesn't seem to be much action going on track at the moment. So it's probably worth talking once more about our brand new features, which have appeared around the Flux Motorsport community. First of course, we now have the introduction of the overtake of the race on our social medias, which I've already talked about earlier. Just little bite-sized clips for you all to enjoy, just to show off the talent of our drivers. We have a brand new community streams channel as well on our Discord server, which if any of you out there are any streamers of any kind, we'd love to have you join the server, and you have a chance to advertise your streams there and get yourself possibly some extra viewers. We also have the relatively new introduction of some American races as well. We've partnered up with a like-minded community on Project Cars 2 over in America, and but due to this we have got the inclusion of some more American championships. We have a GTE championship, an IndyCar championship, and a stock car championship on the show. All of them start at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is 1 a.m. GMT time. These are of course geared towards our American viewers out there, so if any of you are American, you can go and check those out if you fancy some clean and fun sim racing. Oh dear, Jonah, they're going very wide on exit, running along the grass. You've seen quite a few drivers do that today. Just going a little bit too deep into, what corner is that? Sorry, turn 11 there. It seems like GSC fan is sitting comfortably there in 6th place. He's had a really spectacular drive today from the man himself, and yeah, he's just done really well. He started from the back of the grid, of course. He had a qualifying ban after some unfortunate incidents last week, but made his way up to 6th here, and he's done really well, to be honest. And obviously he's got some good pace. I posed the question in the chat: do you think Jonah can overtake Bruce Law? And Little God has replied with, it'll be tough, but Jonah's on for a superb comeback, and he certainly is. He had a really unfortunate spin, of course, on lap 1, but he's clawed his way back into a podium and some precious points. Looks like the gap between Bruce and Jonah is down to around about 2 seconds there. Or 2.5 seconds, sorry, I should say. Although, of course, fluctuating around the lap. take a quick look over onto the timing sheets, you can see there the lap times between Bruce Law and Jonah are very close indeed. Bruce Law setting a 155.586 on his last lap, and Jonah setting a 155.525. So Jonah's slightly quicker, but of course very close, and Jonah's going to really need to kick it into another gear if he wants to be able to overtake Bruce Law. Bruce Law, of course, notoriously difficult to overtake. He's very consistent and always keeps it clean, but he's also quite fond of blocking people and shutting the door on them, forcing to go wide. He'll do anything to keep a place. As we see that, it looked like, was that CMCF1 just getting out of the way? Yes, it was. In the number 13 blue and white liveried Lucio there. Just getting out of the way, nice and clean. He's not had the best of races today. He's been sort of off form recently. He had a DNF in round 3 in Sakito and another DNF actually last time in Bathurst. So CMCF1 still hasn't even finished a race yet, and looks like he'll be finishing last in this one. So I'm sure he'll be kicking himself for missing out on some crucial good amount of points. God, he just runs wide there again onto the gravel. He just seems to really be struggling out there in this LMP2. As it looks like, yeah, he's just retired there. So that'll be his third DNF. That'll be 3 in a row from him. So that'll net him 0 points still. So still no points on the board for CMCF1. And it seems like Bruce Law has not been able to catch up to Immortalis yet. The gap's still at about 3 seconds there, and Giona is right on the tail of him. And Little God as well in the chat saying that Giona took a second out of Bruce's last lap. He certainly did. Let's take a quick look over the timing sheets. And it was even more than a second, about a second and 3/10 from last lap. Bruce Law setting a measly 155.8 and Giona for 154.576. An amazing lap time from him there. And it seems like Immortalis is not going to be able to continue his streak of fastest laps. He's had fastest lap and the pole position every single round so far. But it seems like unless he can set a quicker lap time in these remaining few minutes, it'll be Giona who takes the bonus point for fastest lap. As I've just seen, actually, sorry, no. as things stand at the moment, it won't be Jonah who takes the bonus point. It'll actually be Chris eMotorsport all the way down in 10th with a 154.468. An amazing lap time there from him. So actually, yeah, it won't, as things stand at the moment, it won't be Jonah or eMotorsports taking the bonus point. It will actually be Chris eMotorsport, of a frankly shocking driver, to be honest, to be having a fastest lap of the race. That's no offence to him whatsoever, though. It's just that he hasn't been on the best of form recently. This Jonah is going over the grass a little bit, and he's really closed up on Bruce Law here. Let's go on board with him. Jonah here could be on his way for not only his first podium with Flux Motorsport, but also his first ever second place. This has been some spectacular driving from Jonah so far, especially considering that he's only had 16 points in this entire season. He got a 14th place finish in Zuhai, a DNF in COTA, and a 9th place in Bathurst as he tries to just go around the inside of Bruce Law. But as I was saying earlier, Bruce Law is notoriously difficult to overtake. He will just try anything to prevent an overtake. So you just see there possibly a little bit of lag here going on. This isn't anything to do with the drivers. And the gaps there is just closed down to about 3/10. This is going to be really close here as we head down into 6 minutes remaining. As Jonah goes up the inside there into turn 1 and makes his way up into second place. A brilliant move again from the young driver there. And that puts him up into second place. And it seems like Bruce Law in that background there just... It looked to me like he just braked for no reason, just backing off completely. I'm not too sure what's happened here. He might be saving fuel, but I don't think so. eMotorsports takes fastest lap with a 153.6. Wow, that is a spectacular lap. Just as I was saying earlier about Chris taking home the bonus points for fastest lap, eMotorsports proves me wrong and gets a 153.6 in the bag. That's a really fast lap from him there, and it looks like after all he will be continuing his streak of pole position and fastest lap bonus points. I can't remember the last time somebody was this dominant in the LMP2s in terms of the bonus points. But I'm still not too sure what happened to Bruce Law earlier. As soon as Jonah overtook him in that Sector 1, he just seemed to back off a little. I'm not too sure if he'd just been nice and letting Jonah pass, but I'm not too sure at all what he was doing that for. Usually Bruce Law is competitive and will do anything to win a place back, but clearly not. Perhaps he knows something that we don't know. So I'm sure that the Giona fans in the chat will be really happy about what's happening here. Giona with qualified third for the first time in his career at Flux Motorsport. So yeah, he had a really strong qualifying position, although a spin on lap 1 cost him a lot of places and he sunk to the back of the grid. And he's recovered all the way up into second, and it looks like he's on the charge. He might possibly We have probably about 2 laps remaining here in this race. Sorry, probably about 3 laps remaining, my apologies. Remaining in this race, and there's Jonah lapping about a second quicker than iMotorsports, but if iMotorsports makes a mistake or Jonah just speeds up a tiny little bit more, Jonah could possibly be on for a win here. So as the timer there gets to about 2 minutes and 20 seconds, looks like it'll be probably about 2 laps left of this race. I'm not too sure what I was thinking when I was saying 3 laps earlier. I don't know. Apologies about that, but yes. It looks like it'll probably be about 2 laps remaining of this race. And I think Jonah is going to be too far back he might just catch up to iMotorsports, but I'm not sure if he'll have the ability to overtake him. It looks like iMotorsports, they're setting a very slow lap time of 156.875, and Jonah with 155 on the dot. Very satisfying lap time, to say the least. So keep an eye on that gap. The Jonah fans in the chat saying that yes, he can. They have all the faith in him here. As the gap there, 3.5 seconds. Looks like it's already gone down by about a second. He's got a chance here of getting a win, but it's going to be really close. This is a real underdog story from Jonah here. You will love to see it indeed. After some poor performances so far in the season, currently sitting 13th, so second to bottom in the championship on a measly 16 points. And after also being in last place on lap 1 at the start of this race, he's really done superbly to make his way up into second here, as he's going to be lapping. Oh, a little bit of contact there. Looked like he's just hitting the back of Mark there. Possibly Mark just being a bit too slow, maybe tapping the brakes in somewhere where Jonah didn't expect, and that slowed Jonah down. So either iMotorsports is going to have to make a big mistake here, or Jonah will have to settle for second place. He's going to be kicking himself after the lap. But still, driver of the day for me has to go to Jonah. He's really raced spectacularly here today. So full props to him. As iMotorsports comes into turn 16, 17 and 18 for the last time. The checkered flag will be out soon enough as the timer has reached 0. As he goes through the penultimate corner and then into the last corner of the track here. Checkered flag's out, and iMotorsports is going to take a win here today at the Circuit of the Americas. A good win from him there. He was dominant all throughout the race. Never made a mistake at all. Nice, clean and consistent. Jonah's going to take second place. Maybe in a few more laps he could have taken the win, but he'll have the second for second this time out, but he'll be absolutely chuffed with that result. And that definitely a real underdog story there. Bruce Law is going to take third place here after a good qualifying position of second place. He just slipped down one place into third. Still takes a tidy amount of points, but certainly having Joan in second is going to shake up the standings a lot. Toasty ends the race in fourth position there, just coming across the checked flag. Good race from him. Quite reflective of his place in the standings. He's third in the standings at the moment, but finishes fourth in the race. No real issues from Toasty today whatsoever. Quite a boring race, probably from his point of view. Porscheman will take fifth place. DCC fan in sixth. Very strong result from him today after starting at the back of the grid. Made his way up all the way into sixth. So compliment for a solid drive today. And it seems like we're waiting for just one more to cross the grid here. Across the flag, sorry, and I believe that will be Spankmeyer. And as we get the official results in, along with, of course, the fastest times from each driver, eMotorsports takes the win once again with fastest lap of the race at 153.660. Very strong outing from him today, and he continues his streak of getting the bonus points of pole position and fastest lap. Jonah takes second place. A fantastic drive from him today. I've said it multiple times already, but a real underdog, and who's drove phenomenally to get second place. I'm sure that his fans in the chat will be over the moon with that. Bruce Law rounds out our podium in third. McToasty takes fourth position. Porscheman in fifth. DCC fan in sixth. A very good outing from him today. After starting at the back of the grid, makes his way up into sixth. Green Gaming in seventh. Mark in eighth. Dirk Dickler ninth. Spankmeyer 10th. CMCF1 ended up retiring, so didn't finish the race. That'll be no points for him. And I believe we had a disconnect of Chris M Sport and possibly another driver, but I'll have to check. Thank you very much for joining me today. We've had a cracking race here at the Circuit of the Americas. As always in these LMP2s, it's always close battling. A little bit of strategy as well thrown in, and some always entertaining racing. I hope you'll join me next time out for round 7 of the championship. We'll be heading over to Indy Road on this time next Saturday. Should be another great race. That lovely track, that quite narrow though, so expect to see probably a lot of tussling and bumping from the drivers. But until next time, thank you very much for watching. Make sure you subscribe to the Flux Motorsport YouTube and hit the bell icon. Thank you very much, and good night.